Hello again, Steve here. I'm standing right in front of a monument to Tom and Elisa Thornhill, whose name is now used by this area, this unincorporated area of Thornhill. Tom was originally from Victoria, BC, in the early 1800s, I guess, and he had been in the Fraser Valley where he met Elisa Wright, who is the sister of the chief of the Kinsella band in this area. They married, Elisa and Tom, and they came north to here. And in this very spot here on the banks of the Skeena River is where Tom and Elisa set up their log cabin, where Elisa hunted and maintained a trap line, and Tom ran a steamboat, or worked in the steamboat trade up and down the river here. And as it says on the monument here, Elisa died on her trap line in 1907. Tom died in 1910. It was 1855 that they settled here, which is quite a while ago, which makes me think that the colonialism was working pretty good if she had the name of Wright already before. In 1855 she had the surname of Wright and the first name of Alicia, which I don't think those were Native Indian names at the time at all. But that's aside anyway. That's not what I was going to talk about today, but just a point of interest. All right, I wanted to talk today about, along the lines of improving the quality of our lives, sometimes it's also important to talk about the dangers that we can run into on the other side of the coin, which can hinder our quality of life, our true quality of life. And one of the things that I think we have to be aware of is the insurance schemes that are brought up by those who talk with, they usually wear suits, and they usually have certain glints in their eyes, and they want to make life better for us. They think they know they're going to sell us a better deal on life. And they sell us things like insurance and patriotism and nations and this sort of thing. So it is a distraction from us to take responsibility for our lives. And that's, I see, as a very important stance to take, which is to take responsibility as much as we can in terms of our self-interest, right? Take responsibility for our lives and not turn them over to people who tell us that they have our best interests at stake, and also not to turn our children over to these individuals and entities who say that they have our children at their best interests, because when we allow that to happen, it's never the case. If we remember self-interest, the self-interest first, take care of self, and then that way we can be the best. We can also be the most assured of our quality of life and our contribution. Our insurance, our best insurance, is to be the best that we can be. And by doing that, we actually gain social capital amongst our fellow human beings, which is our greatest insurance. It's our greatest security. It's our greatest Medicare system. It's our greatest healthcare system. Taking care of ourselves, to be healthcare practitioners first and foremost for ourselves, and then we become so for others. That's my take on it anyway. Today I wanted to talk about the scam of the psychiatry industry. I want to do a shout out here to a video I watched, and I put the link down below here, which of somebody who's a researcher and does a much better job than I'm ever going to attempt to do, because it's not what I do. Among other things, it's not what I do. And nevertheless, this is well researched. You can check out the links. If you don't believe him, it's not his opinion so much. It's researching what psychologists, psychiatrists, researchers, people who do long studies on case studies and what have you, have to say about this sort of thing. That psychiatry, okay, makes sense in a way. If you want to create an industry based on bilking people out of their life, basically, if you create problems and create illnesses for them, and then line up a whole bushel load of drugs that you can feed them after you've convinced them that they have a disease, then you're going to be very profitable, extremely profitable. Especially if you link that to the gun in the room, which is the government saying that all you people here, you have to, if you're going to buy this insurance and that insurance, it also has to insure all the diseases that these guys, our buddies who've contributed to our political scheme, have said has got to be included as a disease. And psychiatry is one of those biggest scams that has ever been invented, because what it does is it makes disease, it invents disease. Apparently, from what I'm finding out, the way a psychiatric disease is determined is by a popular vote. You see, heart disease or cancer or something that is biologically inherent, that there's something going on in the brain, in the body, it doesn't need a vote. In other words, if you take a blood sample of somebody and it has a certain level of a certain number of red blood cells or white blood cells or whatever, and you take that to numerous different labs that will test objectively, they'll all come up with exactly the same result. They'll say that that blood cell or that blood has so much of this content of what we're looking for in it. But psychiatry is all about, it's like an art in a way. It's my understanding is it's about, there's a lot of wind here, it's because I'm getting a blast of wind here right now. It has more to do with a subjective opinion. And that's why when they have, sometimes when they have these psychiatry conventions, they'll have a vote on whether something should be considered as a disease. You wouldn't have that in a real science. You wouldn't have a mathematical or a physics convention, sitting down and having a vote as to whether something is scientifically accurate or not. No, it doesn't matter if people believed it or not. It either is or it isn't. So, but this is why this is so dangerous, because you have, first of all, you have political motives. You have large industry funding political movements, which then make laws that say that everybody who has this insurance, or even this public insurance, has to be insured for something that a bunch of guys who funded this political entity have had a big convention and voted for a disease. So that disease doesn't exist in reality. It exists because a bunch of people said it does. And then they will give these trailer drugs, or they'll give these drugs which then make a whole class of people dependent on them. This is my take on it, the summary kind of thing. And you know, it's really unfortunate, because you know, I've done work at various different places recently and talked to people who have children who have these mental disorders, and what I'm getting from them, the opinions I'm getting from them, is these things are so more common now than they used to be. And in listening to this research, there is a corollary between what the psychiatrists come up with in terms of disease and the amount of drugging that then goes on, as to how many people there are now with these diseases. The rates have been going up in terms of the numbers and the number of people who are being drugged to try to alleviate the diseases. And the truth is, you would think that if this was scientific, if the drug would actually help the disease, we should see a decrease in the number of these so-called mental disorders or mental diseases. But in fact, we see them going up. So from a purely commonsensical, if I may use that term, standpoint, it seems like maybe the drugs are not the solution, but that's just one layman's way of looking at it. What is my suggestion? Once again, no professional advice here, just comments from one man sharing an idea on improving the quality of our life experience. So, you know, you have an opinion, an idea, things that work for you in your life. I have things that work for me in my life, opinions as well, based on those, hopefully based on some sort of experience. What I would suggest is, for ourselves, and especially for our children, is to keep them away from things that are not proven to be effective, or especially if they've been proven to be damaging. And one of the things I would suggest is keep kids away from publicly funded daycare and publicly funded schools, because a lot of the times this is when these sort of recommendations of, you know, your child is acting up, maybe you should go see the counselor. And the counselor will say, well, maybe you should go see the doctor. And you see the doctor, maybe you should see the psychiatrist. See the psychiatrist, all of a sudden the kid's on drugs. And I know this for a fact. I know this from, not for a fact, from experience. One experience, once again anecdotal, but nevertheless, my daughter, when she was in preschool, we had to take her out of preschool, and because she was acting up, and the principal recommended that we should go get her checked out. And I remember at the time being extremely suspicious of this, and I didn't do this. I didn't bring her anywhere, because I could see the writing on the wall that almost certainly she would have been diagnosed with something. And what is the solution to a diagnosis always? Take this pill. And as it turns out, she's brilliant, she's genius. And we just encouraged her to be brilliant and genius. We didn't go down the road of listening to what other people have to say, and how dangerous that, because I mean, it can be very dangerous. Not always dangerous, but if we don't filter what we're hearing, it can be very dangerous, is my point here. And my other opinion is, don't believe doctors. Don't believe doctors. Most doctors don't know anything about health. I know it might sound like an asinine statement, but I'm going to say that right here. Doctors, for the most part, do not know about health. They know about, if there's two sides to a coin, there's disease and there's health. Doctors know about disease. Health is the other side of it. It's not a healthcare system that doctors work in. It is a disease profiting system. It came out of a triage and trauma system of war. That's where the modern medical system comes from. It comes from a battlefield where you're dragging people in who are seriously injured. Therefore, if you're seriously injured in a car accident, let's say, that's the place you want to be, is under the care of a skilled surgeon, yes. But don't go asking him or her about health issues, about health questions. They don't know about health. Ask somebody who knows about health. Ask people who are really skilled in diet, who are really skilled in exercise, who are really skilled in psychology and how the human mind works. Ask people who are involved in forms of meditation that are helpful to relax. These sorts of things. These are healthcare practitioners, not necessarily doctors. And now, I'll also backtrack a bit in saying, because I said don't believe doctors. Well, don't believe anybody. You know, do a little bit of research. What the doctor is saying might be very valid. And I don't say don't listen to people or don't listen to what they're saying, but don't just believe them because they have letters behind their name. Don't believe them. They may have training which says, when I see this, I want to give you this drug, and that might not be the solution. But once again, don't listen to me either. Don't believe me. But don't believe anybody unless there's some sort of a reason and evidence to what it is they're saying. Ask clarifying questions. Ask to see the journals that they're quoting. Ask to see the reference that they're going by. And when we do this, we can make an educated decision on what it is that we're doing. And that's so important, because when we can be educated, which is getting something from inside that feels like it's reasonable, it's evidence, it feels right, all those things together, then we can make choices in our life, because every day, every moment is like a choice. We can go this way or we can go that way. We can make decisions, right? When we make decisions that are more effective for us, we can then have a better, true quality of life experience. once again, just sharing some thoughts here. I think it's really important because whether people are aware of it or not, whether they're well-intended or not, what they're telling us can be detrimental to what we want in life. And so it's always good to remember that we got to take care of ourselves. It's so important that we take care of ourselves. And that includes having a system of editing what it is that's coming in and finding out whether it's beneficial for us or it's not, or it's just some sort of a, you know, sometimes we can stop things in the bud. There's a saying, you know, we can stop this in the bud just when it's starting to sprout. If we don't get into something so long that we've wasted a lot of energy in it and we've damaged ourselves by taking a certain number of drugs or living life in a certain way, if we do a little bit of research ahead of time and have a methodology of questioning and finding out what is the basis for what's being told to us. Is there any basis to reason in it? Is there any basis is there any evidence that can be presented? If there can't be, then we're probably better off just to let it go. No matter what, no matter who is telling us, no matter how much of an expert they claim to be, if they cannot provide evidence or any kind of proof to what they're saying, then we're better off to probably just leave it alone and go find some more research, or go by what we find out is more truthful. Anyways, just a thought along the lines of improving the quality of our lives. It's important to protect ourselves, and this is one way that we can, is to educate ourselves. Before I go though, I'm just going to show you, I'll just give you a shot of this monument here, and you can read it. That's the monument of old Tom's steamboat on the Skeena River, and there's the little write-up on it. So, little picnic park here with a little bit of snow on the ground still. We'll sign off for now. Steve here again.